Hello, Michiganders! Hello, freedom fighters! You guys, it's so beautiful to see all your bright, shining, happy faces out here today. Thank you for showing up. Showing up for our president, showing up for America, not allowing them to steal our country. Can you all find a flag, please? Remove your hats and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My name's Maya Hahn, and I am one of the hosts of this event, along with Kevin and a slew of amazing patriots that have been working hard behind the scenes. Can you give them a round of applause, please? One of the things that we've been doing ever since this COVID shutdown and our governor's tyranny is realizing that we don't have enough people engaged in our government. Enough people that actually want to make a difference and do the right thing. So it's time that we start uniting. It is time we get more organized. It is time that we start listening and paying attention. So we've developed the Patriot Hub for us to finally have a voice. Finally have the power that we need to make a difference so we can drain the Michigan swamp. So if you haven't done so already, please get out your phones and go to patriothub.org. It is a sign-up list where we are gathering patriots, and we are going to start sharing Michigan information with you. Bills that hit the floor, action steps we need to take, and fellow patriots that are stepping up to the call to take the place of those swampers. So please, patriothub.com .org and join the hub. Yes, .org, not .com, patriothub.org. So one of the people that has been behind the scenes helping us build the Patriot Hub is here with us today. He's a Christian, a husband, a father, and an entrepreneur, and he has also been a major part of the grassroots movement of fighting tyranny throughout the entire COVID pandemic and beyond. He has a unique history participating in local governments, which taught him to fight hard for education, for greater participation within his local community. Please welcome a brother in Christ and a good friend of mine to sing the national anthem, Adam Hegla!
All right. And so we're gonna all sing the national anthem together, because when everyone comes together, when patriots come together, we all sing this song. And that's what I love about this. And before we sing this, I do want to say just a couple quick things, because we as patriots that need to come together over the next coming months before Christmas time, we are going to put together some patriot singers. We're going to go and we are going to carol in the streets, okay? Oh, come on, let's hear it. We're going to carol in the streets, guys. We are going to let them know, because this mask stuff, none of this is going to end. We know that. And so we all have to get together continually. And let's spread that cheer. Let's spread that love of Christ everywhere that we go. And let's make it heard. There we go. Yeah. He's so delightful. Yeah. I wasn't ready for that song. Okay. All right, guys. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. We're going to be putting those together in different events all over the place. You'll see it coming up here real soon. All right, now let's hear it with me, okay? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
USA! USA! USA!
USA! USA! USA! USA! USA! USA! USA!
Thank you, Adam and Mr. and Mrs. Patriot. Bird Lives Matter, BLM. All right, guys, so we are getting right into Mr. Colbeck. Let me just announce him here, guys. So I know everybody already knows him, but Pat has been a voice for truth. He's been a real patriot. He's a fighter in our state for many, many years. Former Michigan State Senator, former candidate for governor, who would have been amazing over the current one we have, right? I mean, wouldn't you guys rather have Pat than stretching Gretchen Whitmer? Golly! Golly! All right. So, he's the author of a book, Wrestling Gators, An Outsider's Guide to Draining the Swamp. He's the founder of letsfixstuff.org. If you get a minute, go to his website, letsfixstuff.org. You will be amazed at some of the information he has on there. You can spend days on there. He was not only on the front lines in Detroit as a poll challenger at Cobo Hall, but he's also been leading Michigan in this fight for election integrity and exposing the election fraud ever since Election Day. So he has never given up, guys. All right? So he worked with NASA. He's a communications expert. He worked on the International Space Station. So this guy's no stranger to wiring, technology, and connections. So when he says that the AV voting system was hooked up to the internet, he knows what he's talking about, okay? It's not hearsay. It's real. Pat saw it with his own eyes. This is an honest man. So anyway, I'm glad we have him on our side. So let's give a big, proud, patriot welcome for former Senator Pat Colbeck.
Well, thank you, everybody. I gotta admit, I never thought I'd be back to Lansing as often as I have been over the past few weeks. Thank you guys very much for coming out. This is very important what you guys are doing today. It's coming out and highlighting that this election, the integrity of this election is very important. You know, we just sang the Star-Spangled Banner. I don't know if you guys remember the circumstances that Francis Scott Key wrote the words to that song, right? Everybody was afraid that America, this new country, was in its death throes, if you will, and they were worried because the capital of Washington, D.C., if I remember my history correctly, was just ransacked. And I wasn't prepared to talk on this, but it just inspired me because there's been dark times in our country's history before, right? This one is pretty dang dark, and people are trying to make it dark, but I'm telling you, there's a heck of a lot of light out there, and once that light is shown on the truth of what happened in this election, America's future is never going to be brighter, folks. I'm telling you, we've known for a long time that America was on this gradual decline, right? Where we were calling evil good and good evil for a long time. We were going off and accepting mediocrity, we were going off and trying to make our point on different topics by demeaning the other person rather than elevating our discussion and having a serious debate of topics, right? America's been on this steady decline. We've been having a complete lack of leadership across the board. I'm not an active leader right now, right? I'm not a state senator. I'm not a state representative. I'm not a governor. I'm not a secretary of state. I'm not any of that stuff here. I'm just a regular citizen, folks, just like everybody here. And I'm telling you, I would not have the voice that I have right now if it weren't for fellow citizens that went and challenged the votes and challenged the election process out in Detroit and other places all across the state and frankly all across the country. The reason anybody's even paying attention, because we're not talking about second-hand, third-hand witnesses, we're talking about first-hand witnesses to what actually happened in Detroit and other places throughout the country. And while the media goes off and pushes this fake narrative that says there is no evidence, meanwhile, back at the ranch, the folks who actually saw the evidence of election fraud, like Artesia and Bomer, right? All right, they're going off and getting the story out there and letting people know what happened. And I'm telling you, that fraud was not only existing, but it was significant enough to not only overturn what's being projected as the election results here in Michigan, but also the election results out in Pennsylvania, out in Georgia, out in Arizona, out in Wisconsin. And I want to put this in context. Right now, even the most liberal media outlets are pushing the notion that Donald Trump has 232 electoral college votes, right? So who's good with their math? The goal is 270, right? So we need 38 more votes. All right, how many electoral votes does Michigan have? Come on, quick. 16, all right. How many does Pennsylvania have? How many does Wisconsin have? How much does Hawaii have? That was a trick one. That's all right. Georgia, 16. Arizona, 11. I'm telling you, all we need is 3 states to finally wake up and understand and make the case for why this election needs to be overturned in regards to the electoral votes that are being projected right now and put those votes back to Donald Trump. Just 3 states. If you get Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia to wake up and understand that this election integrity was at risk, election fraud was very real, and I'll be testifying to that fact right here on Tuesday, highlighting exactly what I saw and what all the poll challengers around here saw. It's undeniable what happened, and I'll tell you, since the beginning of all this, we were struggling. We knew something was wrong on all this. When I went into the Detroit AV Counting Board, a lot of people are talking about the fact that I highlighted that there was active internet connections there, right? And so instead of attacking the technical assessment that I had on this, they decided to make ad hominem attacks against me. And they're doing that to everybody who stands up. It's a glorified game of whack-a-mole. We had the Attorney General threatening me for what she believes are false statements, and I've never made a false statement, my friends. And so that's what's being played out. In the media, anybody who goes off and highlights what the election fraud is are never given a voice. You know where we're getting the serious interviews about what actually happened? We're going to alternative media channels. We're getting to Epic Times. We're going to Gateway Pundit. We're going to Newsmax. You know, we're going to Life Site News, was one of the first places. They're the ones that are listening in detail. When I sit down with the local news, it's like a game of Mad Lib. You guys remember that as a kid? They've already got the story written. They just want a few quotes to insert in the blanks. That's not the way journalism is supposed to be done. You're supposed to go off and address the specific concerns that were made. And my concerns that I addressed were the fact that in the Detroit AV Counting Boards, we had a suite of computers, the tabulators, which are what count the votes, connected to the adjudicators, which are, in some cases, what are used to steal the votes. But anyway, in any case, they're supposed to be used to go off and adjudicate ballots that can't be read by the scanners. All those computers were connected to one another via Ethernet cables and routers. I mapped it all out, and the folks that were with me that night can attest me. I was getting pushed away from the cables from the folks up in the center stage because they didn't want me peeking under the hood. All right? Well, I peeked under the hood. And it was connected to a router that was connected to this local data center sitting up on the stage in the middle. That local data center is what controlled all the election operations there. That local data center, we already have people who are trying to hide the truth of this election, like Chris Thomas, who's a former state elections director. We have him already admitting that those computers up on that stage were connected to the internet. Right? There's no denying that. He's already talked about it. Well, if those computers are connected to the internet, any computer connected to those computers is connected to the internet. They may claim some firewall that's out there, but I can tell you they have whole conferences called DEF CON every single year, except for this year because it's COVID, conveniently, right? Where they go off and demonstrate that they can hack through any one of these firewalls, guys. And why is this such a big deal? Why is internet connectivity such a big deal? It's not because they're downloading solitaire and playing solitaire at the tabulators. That's not the issue, folks. The issue is a term called chain of custody, all right? I know it's not a fun term to talk about, but the bottom line is, imagine yourself with a link chain. At the top of this link is our qualified voter file, all right? I'm telling you right now that we got, per this last election, that link was broken because there were 8.1 million registered voters, according to our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson. The only problem is we've only got about, less than 7.8 million that are of voting age here in the state of Michigan. That's a 300,000 vote gap. What was the margin here that they're projecting for Joe Biden? 154,138 or something like that. All right? Perhaps there's some people on our voting rolls that should never be on the voting rolls, right? The next thing is our poll books. The poll books are just a precinct-specific extract from that qualified voter file, all right? You know what? They had about 4 different versions of poll books out in Detroit alone. They were entering them manually at the end of the night in Detroit. So even if somebody wasn't in the poll book, they were entering them in. Then you have the ballots themselves, and we can go into a lot of detail about everything that was going on with the late night drops of ballots that were going on. And then we've got the idea of the last thing, which I get to in that chain of custody, if you will. That last link is the vote tally. You guys may remember a little expression attributed to Stalin, appropriately enough, is that it's not the one who votes that counts, it's the one who counts the vote that counts, right? So my focus since the beginning of that evening when I did a marathon session over 24 hours monitoring the votes out in Detroit was I wanted to know how the votes got handed off from that tabulator out to all points north to the county, etc. I want to understand exactly what's happening there. And when you're connected to the internet, you have no way of verifying what votes are being sent and where. I'm telling you, they also had wireless connections, all that stuff. So we're going to talk about this a lot on Tuesday. I know it's not too rah-rah to talk about information technology. I get that. Please understand, though, I'm coming from a position of being not only a former state senator, not only a former vice chair of the Elections and Government Reform Committee in the Senate, not only somebody who went off and diagrammed every darn process around elections for the last 4 years, so I understand this stuff pretty well. I'm also a certified Microsoft Small Business Specialist, and I did cabling design on the International Space Station. I know how a network is set up. And I also know that when a bunch of computers pop up in the middle of the day out at the Detroit AV Accounting Board, and it says backup overflow, I know that somebody's trying to save something to a SQL server, and I know a SQL server isn't sitting on those tabulator machines. That means they're networked to something else. All right? I also know that what happened up in Antrim County was no software glitch. It was designed software switch. All right? So guys, there's a whole bunch of more information that's going to be coming out in the upcoming weeks. I want to give you some hope. All right? So that we know election fraud's been committed. We're going to go off and testify here in Michigan. I'm going actually out to Arizona as well and testifying to that up on Monday. How many of you guys heard what happened in Pennsylvania yesterday? Wasn't that a nice, refreshing? In Pennsylvania, the legislators realized that there's this little provision in the Constitution, the United States Constitution, called Article 2. And it states that the legislature, the state legislators here that come to work over here, it's their responsibility to allocate the electors. So the folks in Pennsylvania, their legislature took the initiative to say, you know what? We see ample evidence of voter fraud. We're going to go assign the electors in accordance with what the real vote was. And that's what needs to happen here in Michigan. It's what needs to happen in Georgia. It's what needs to happen in Arizona. It's what needs to happen in Wisconsin. We have Republican legislatures in each one of those states, okay? So, and what happens if our legislature doesn't have the backbone to do that? Well, there's still another pathway. The courts can order them to do that, all right? And all we're asking for is our day in court. We know where the truth is. I'm not afraid of any of this stuff. You can call me all the names you want. You can make all the threats you want, Attorney General Nessel. I'm not going anywhere until we resolve this to the truth. All right. So I just want to give you guys some hope, all right? Okay, Joe Biden is not the president-elect, all right? We've got lawsuits in work in Michigan right now. That Kraken, you guys have heard of the Kraken, right? All right, that is real, folks. We have evidence of foreign influence on this election, not the fake stuff that the Democrats were pushing before this, right? We actually had the 305th Military Intelligence Battalion that was monitoring this election thanks to an executive order put out by President Trump before the election. All right, so we have SIGINT that demonstrates what's going on. We've got the mechanisms of how it was actually done because of geeks like myself and others all across the country who analyze exactly what was going on. Guys, we're going to prevail on this, and Donald Trump's going to be the president for the next 4 years. So come on together, stop the steal, get our legislature to make sure that they know what Article 2 means, and get them off their derriere and do the right thing. Donald Trump's still our president, folks. Knock him alive, everybody.